Okay, welcome to the Windows and Objects control, how to control Windows and objects using your controllers. And you'll see in front of you we're in a Master 360 with our Lego demo project. And what you'll see is a timeline. We have a timeline, and then we've got a video for later. It's a 2D synced video which we'll use. So we're going to mainly focus on the timeline here. So my main area is going to be here, and I assume you're going to be standing to my left or my right, looking at my controls, looking at these. You can of course teleport around and get a little bit closer to some of the things if you want to see them more closely. So we're currently at the beginning of this video, and we've got the controllers, and we have this raycast, this line that comes out from our right controller that allows us to point at things and do things. So for example, we can select things. I can point and then point at these and turn them, say, on and off, for example. You see they're changing by pressing the trigger while I point. Also, I can point at things and move them by using the grip. So if I'm pointing at this object here, if I press the grip on the right controller, and the grips are on the side of my controller, it depends on your controller where they are, but if you grip, then I can move this object and move it up and wherever I want. So that's the way, as long as I'm pointing at it. If I point somewhere else, then nothing happens. But if I point at it, then it moves. And I can move this one as well. So these are window objects with a bunch of controls of these icons. This one has a timeline as well. You could look at the timeline to see how the timeline and playback works at that tutorial. And here what you'll find is that we can also zoom it. So if we take both controllers, as you see here, and we grip while pointing with the right controller, if we grip both, then we'll see, then we can, if we move the controllers apart, it comes closer up to a certain point, and if we move, we can push it right away as well. So, and if you let go, you can do that again and repeat it, so we can zoom in and out as we wish. So we'll get it to say about here, nice and close. And then we can take a look at these controls up here. And any one of these objects can be zoomed. So I can choose this one here and zoom this one in and out as well. So you can position things in three-dimensional space around you. Okay, so what we have, most Windows have, or objects have these controls, or some subset of these controls. The first one allows us to close a window. If I click this one right now, it would close the timeline. And if I go here, press this button, I could load it up again. So I just try that. There, it's closed, and now it's loaded up. It will load up right in front of you, and I can move it back to roughly here. Next one is not yet implemented, but it's a favorites. If I click that, then that would add it to the favorites, but that's not working right now. And you can have a series of favorite objects that you like to have always open. This is to pin, so you can see I can move it. If I click that, it's now pinned, and if I try to grip it and move it, it won't move. Now it's unpinned, I can move it. This one here is about rotation. If I turn it like this, you'll see it always reorients again in case you accidentally twist it. But if I turn that off, then I can have this at whatever angle I want. If I turn it back on, it comes back, and it will always try to reorient to where I'm looking, or where you are looking as the user. And then we have these powerful controls of the audio. So what I'm going to do is just mute this one over here. And you see I muted that. And this is the timeline for the Master 360. And if I press play, we'll get the audio, and it's only coming from all around us in the Master 360. I can mute that, and now you'll not hear anything because it's muted. If I unmute it, we'll hear it. And the solo, means if I close that, it means only this one will play and no other, unless those are also soloed. And so we do hear this one. If I unsolo that. Okay, so then we've got some idea of how these controls work generally on video objects and audio objects. 360, this is the Master 360. And if you had a 360 mini sphere, you'd be able to control that one independently. So you can decide on your own specific mix, because here you have a volume level just for this object. So if I play, I can take the volume right down and bring it right up just for the Master 360. So that means you can adjust relative volumes of all the different windows and objects that are playable media, and mute them and solo them independently. So it's a powerful interface for controlling sound. sound levels and mixing them together to get just the right effect you want. So that's the basic features that we find on most audio objects. And we can, if I bring this one down, we can bring this 2D video over. Then you'll see this one has a similar set, but it doesn't have the favorites, but it has pinning. So if I pin that one, can't move it. If I do this, I could rotate the video if I wished. For example, it could be the wrong orientation. And then I have this one muted. If I unmute that and mute this one, then when we play, the sound is coming from this camera and not from the camera we're looking at. And we can also not only do it that way, we can solo it. And if you solo, you notice this one is now muted and this one is soloed. If I play them all, the sound is only from this one. So that gives you some idea of the controls that we find on Windows. And you could try that yourself now if you just stop this, or you can pause the volumetric capture replay and open things, or basically best maybe to exit from this and then try out some of these objects and windows yourself, like the timeline, a 2D video or a 360 video in the Lego demo project, for example. That's enough for now on how to control windows and objects.